Coming up on this episode of the Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise podcast.
I used to think, silly me, that marriage was 50-50. And I've said this in Sunday school class a number of times. I used to say, well, I'm going to do my 50% and then she does her 50% and we're done. We're good. And I remember a true story. I was at Queen of the Valley at a conference, leadership conference or something. And I listened to a speaker. It was a lady and she said, marriage is not 50-50. It's 100% zero. 100% zero. Once I got to the point of saying, I've got to go 100%. Doesn't matter what she does. This is on me. This is on me. If I do my 100%, I'm good. And I'll deal with the rest. You know what I mean? But a lot of times what happens.
Welcome to the Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise podcast with Dr. William T. Choctaw, MD, JD, where the doctor helps you unlock your full potential by equipping you with tools and knowledge in the areas of health, wealth, and wisdom, anchored in his experience as a business executive, a physician surveyor for the Joint Commission, a former mayor, and over 50 years of experience as a general surgeon. You've got questions, he's got answers. So let's get started. Here's Dr. William T. Choctaw, MD, JD.
Well, we're very, very happy to welcome the Sookram family to our podcast on this beautiful Saturday morning. We're delighted to have you with us. So good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Very good. Now, I want to let you know that in the year and a half that we've had these podcasts, you're making history because we've never had a couple on before. Okay, so we're going off into uncharted territory with that. so years from now, they'll say, "Who was the first couple was on the Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise podcast?" And so that'll be you guys. But we certainly want to thank you again, though, for being with us. We know that weekends are particularly busy, and we really thank you for sharing your time with us this morning. So, very good. So tell me about yourself.
Born and raised in Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
Came to America in the late 80s. My mom was already living here, so my brother and I were asked if we wanted to join our mom here, and we said yes. Moved to Houston, Texas. About a year and a half later, came to California. My mom married. We came out to California. Became a preschool teacher.
Oh. And
some years after that, met my wife in 97. She had two girls, 2.5, and she was about 5.
Okay.
The oldest one, and history was made.
Okay. Tonji, tell us about you.
Well, I'm originally from Chicago. I've lived different places here and there with my parents, and then I moved on my own and lived a few different places like Wisconsin. I ended up going to Kentucky, and then I went back to Chicago for a little bit, and then my mom and dad were already out here in California, and they convinced me to move back out here. So we were known as the Black Gypsies of the family because we were always moving with Dad's job, and it was so funny. But I came out here in 96, and like my husband said, we met in 97, and I was a single mom with 2 little girls, and we've been together ever since.
Right. The rest is history.
I'm in the medical field. I've been a CNA over the years. Was trying to look into nursing, and
okay.
So it's different things I've been trying to find my way to see where the Lord wants me to go.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I've heard that both you and Gary are involved with the marriage ministry at St. Stephen's. Tell me no more. What is the marriage ministry, and what do you guys do?
So just so the marriage ministry prior to COVID was a pretty strong ministry. You know, we had different classes at church and different events, but during COVID, it of course, you know, died down, and we're trying to revive it now. We're not trying to, we are reviving it now. So currently we're attempting to put a little different spin on it, do a lot of more activities with couples together, interacting together, and of course doing some sessions on Zoom and different things. So we're exploring different avenues just to try and get the couples active again, exploring all the issues in marriages, and just trying to help each other maintain a healthy Christian marriage.
And Reverend Sister Francis have taken us under their wing, and they've been working with us, and also learning from them also.
Okay. So if a couple is thinking about whether they should come to your sessions or join the ministry or not, what should they know?
That it's a safe space.
Okay.
We're very open, honest. Of course, everything comes from a biblical standpoint, but a term Pastor Dockery often uses is where the rubber meets the road. So we're approaching things in that standpoint, where does our biblical standpoints in marriage meet our day-to-day living? How do we work that out?
Okay. So if someone were to say, well, what is the biblical status or principle for marriage? Let's say a couple is going to get married and they want to make sure they do it the right way and that everything is done correctly. What advice would you give them before they even come to any of your sessions?
Well, I would definitely encourage premarital counseling with Pastor Dockery.
Okay.
Be able to sit down with him, lay all the cards out on the table. What your expectations are in a marriage. So what your concerns are, what each other's views are on, if you plan on having children, what your disciplining strategies are, your
everything.
Everything. Finances. It is very important to do that step first, as far as with premarital counseling, to make sure all the ducks are in a row, as they say. So you're not going into the marriage blind and having all kinds of surprises and, feeling like, oh no, I didn't know this, or I wish I would have known that, or I wish we would have talked about, how we felt and what we expected from each other in the marriage, or, what we want in our relationship. It's very important.
Okay. I would say, as far as the marriage ministry itself, there is no prerequisite for joining the ministry or becoming getting involved.
Okay. Is there a recommendation? And I'm just thinking of stuff off the top of my head now. Should all marriage couples have joint bank accounts, or can they have separate bank accounts?
Well, we believe in both, a hybrid of both. So with us, we've for some years now, we have our main account that is a joint account together.
Okay.
But then we also have a separate spending account or allowance account for each other. So it kind of gives a little bit of both worlds, where you have a little bit of independence, but at the same token, you have the base of the family finances.
Okay. So the couple can decide which way works for them.
Right.
They can take a hybrid approach, or they can take it one way or the other way, or that sort of thing. Okay. How about children? How about disciplining children? Do you recommend disciplining children, or how's that work? Because see, I'm a little old school, so I know how it was done back in the '60s.
We are actually old school. We're products of old school. Where you if you got in trouble, I mean, you were in trouble. Okay. And I'm thankful, because looking at how some people are disciplining their children nowadays, particularly not disciplining them, there's a lot of issues there, because, as they say, spare the rod, spoil the child. That is really true, and we're really very thankful for our parents, that they didn't spare the rod and spoil the child. And we really feel that is important, in bringing up your children.
Well, I would say we're two firstborns, so of course we have that structured mindset. That kind of stuff.
I'm a firstborn too. I understand exactly what you're saying.
So, but it also has caused us some battlegrounds at times, and we've tried with our different kids to do things a little different at times, but we tend to revert back to our upbringing, because of course kids are different, culture is different now, society is different.
Yep.
So we've tried different things at different times, and sometimes something works, sometimes something didn't work. So it's an ongoing learning process.
That's exactly what I learned. There is no perfect way. There is no one way. Even if you have 3 children, each child is going to be different. What worked for child 1 will not work for child 2 or child 3. And I think that flexibility, or being willing to be flexible, or being willing to meet the child wherever he or she is important, because a lot of times some types of structure, some kids will completely adapt to that. Others will rebel 100%. The more you say left, they go right. You say up, they go down. And you love them. And so you have to find that way. And it's not easy. I can remember many years ago, I think it was Bill Cosby who wrote a book. And then the point of his book was that there is no perfect way. That there is you don't learn from the first child with the second child, because second child may be completely different type thing.
That's my experience.
And to your point, Gary, certainly I can remember I had a patient, male patient, who was very upset one day. He came in to see me, and I said, "Mr. So-and-so, why are you so upset?" And he said, "My daughter just called the police on me." I said, "Really?" I said, "Tell me about that." And he was from out of the country, different culture, more strict culture, daughter, a female child. And she said, "No, you can't do X, Y, Z. You can't, hit me or whatever. That's abuse, blah, blah, blah." And he got into trouble for that. And so my point is, it really does vary. It really does vary. And you sort of have to go with the flow and figure out what works, and that's not easy. It is not easy.
Against the gray hair.
I can. Speaking of that, as I was sharing with somebody, I grew up as a foster child, so I was really way out, on the periphery. But I remember by the time I was in my 3rd foster home, I could get spankings; it wouldn't matter. I refused to cry, and you could do all that stuff with me, but I would not react. I mean, I was just at that stage. Now, unfortunately, most kids aren't like that. But my point is, it does vary. It does vary, and what may work for 1 year, 2 years may be different for the next couple of years, and that's okay. You have to be flexible. You have to stay flexible.
Nice.
What is your recommendation about conflict resolution between couples?
Okay.
All right, go ahead. That's
I'll start with, it's funny because what I'm about to say it wasn't something that was always being done.
Okay.
As far as if you're in conflict, there's certain proper ways to argue.
Give me an example of a proper way to argue.
Well, not to allow yourself to get out of control, be out of control because you're so into your feelings.
Yes.
And I've been guilty of that many times where I was just so upset with him, feeling like he just wasn't listening to me. He just wasn't hearing what I was saying. He's misinterpreting what I'm saying. But then I'm hearing all this stuff that I'm supposed to be changing pertaining to him or what he thinks I should do and shouldn't do. So it would put me in a resentful mode, a resentful frame of mind. And of course, that's negative, and it's not a good thing because it just lingers sometimes. So then you're not talking.
Right.
He's over here, or he's in the living room. I'm in the bedroom.
Right.
And then when you go to bed, you're on this side of bed, and he's almost off the bed. Away. It's all those are things that are not good. They're not healthy. And I for me, I had to I had to stop praying the prayer, Lord, fix him, and Lord, change him.
Fix him. Okay, got it.
Make him do this and this and that. I said, no, Tonji, you need to start praying a different type of prayer.
That's right.
Lord, show me what I am not seeing. Should help me to understand what it is that he's trying to say and not be so quick to take offense.
Understood.
But please, Lord, help him to hear me.
Yeah.
And I noticed since I have been praying that way, I noticed that when we are in conflict, it's so different. We might fuss here and there, but it's short.
Yeah.
It doesn't last. Yeah. It doesn't linger. We've gone days where, I don't have anything to say to you. Right. I'm barely going to say good morning or good night. But we don't do that because we realize that is not healthy for us. That's not healthy for our relationship. And then, of course, our children are watching us.
Of course.
So these are things that we really said, okay, we need to really, really pay closer attention to. And since we've done those changes over the years, our children have even made comments from our oldest to our youngest.
Excellent.
How we are when we're in conflict. We don't stay mad long. We could be fussing about something, a disagreement, but then they see us cuddled up on the couch, So
no, I understand. It is a good thing. That's
how, for me, that's what I would suggest, to not hold on to things. If something really bothering you, address it. Give each other that space. Don't force to say, no, we need to talk about it right now. Give each other that space, but come back.
For me, it was one of the things I realized about myself was, and the best quote I've heard about it was actually from a wrestler named Hulk Hogan. When he was going through his divorce, he said it felt like his best friend was taking their ball and going home. They didn't want to play anymore.
The game was over.
Right. And I felt that way quite a few times in our marriage at times.
Okay.
And it was always a scary thing for me because I now realize, now that I'm older, that I've had some abandonment issues.
Yes.
So when those things were happening in our marriage, especially in the middle of conflict, those are the anxieties I would get, and I would fight against that.
Understood.
In different ways. Sometimes I would retreat. Sometimes I would push even harder. And neither extreme was good. I needed to learn that because we were in conflict doesn't mean that we weren't together, that we were still on the same team.
Exactly.
And so that's helped a lot. And not holding bitterness, not holding in resentment and allowing resentment to build up, all those things.
Two things I've mentioned to my patients over the years, couples. One, men really are from Mars and women really are from Venus. We do not think the same. It doesn't mean that one way is good or bad. It means that they're different. And I think a lot of times anger and resentment or whatever comes with, why don't you do it this way? Or why don't you blah, 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 blah. In general, it may happen but in general, it's not fundamental. It's not going to happen. So the first thing is I have to accept that folks not going to think the way I think, and that's okay. That's okay. People don't have to think the way I think. The second thing that I would tell my patients is that there's control and there's influence. And I gave a talk about this a long time ago. Most of us parents think we control our children. You do not control your children. You may think you do. You do not. And if you doubt that, think back when you were 15 or 16 and ask yourself, how much control, honestly, did your mom and dad have over you? Just you don't have to tell me. Just think about it. And so my point is, what I learned, and these are lessons that I've learned sometimes the hard way, is that what I want to do with the kids is have influence. I never want to get to the point where they don't talk to me or vice versa, because if we're not talking, then I don't know what's going on. And if I don't know what's going on, I can't fix things. That doesn't matter how good I am or how good I think I am. If I'm not talking, so I've got to always be open to listen, to sit down and say, okay, tell me what I need to know, or blah 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 blah. And I've suggested that to patients over the years, and I've found that that's had some resonance too. And the last thing is, I used to think, silly me, that marriage was 50-50. And I've said this in Sunday school class a number of times. I used to say, well, I'm going to do my 50% and then she does her 50% and we're done. We're good. And I remember a true story. I was at Queen of the Valley at a conference, leadership conference or something. And I listened to a speaker. It was a lady, and she said, marriage is not 50-50. It's 100% zero. 100% zero. Once I got to the point of saying, I've got to go 100%, doesn't matter what she does. This is on me. This is on me. If I do my 100%, I'm good. And I'll deal with the rest. You know what I mean? But a lot of times what happens is expectation. I did 35%, but you only did 20%. I want that other 15%, and I want it right now. And blah, blah. And we set these expectations, and we don't communicate them. So the partner's saying, what are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about. He said, but you didn't do your 20%. So we need to stop that, because we can't get inside each other's heads. Not really. We may be smart, but we're not that smart. So these are some of the things I've learned along the way, God knows. And I am certainly not an expert. I made a lot of mistakes in my life, but God is good. He has taught me stuff, and so particularly, Tonji, just especially what you were saying about, I would get upset and then I would just shut down, because that's what we do a lot of times. I don't want to talk to you. Just talk to the hand, or whatever. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. Because a lot of times what we're saying is, you did not meet my expectation. But you see, maybe I wasn't clear in what my expectation was. Maybe you don't really know what my expectation is. You're trying all these things, but I'm saying, no. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. But it's a process. It's a process. But as long as there's value, you're good. As long as there's value, you're good, because you'll find a way. You'll find a way to get to what I call common ground. Go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Go ahead.
I was just thinking of something. I didn't mean to cut you off, though.
No.
I was going to say how what we've been noticing or acknowledging is each other's feelings, even within conflict, even if, say he didn't think he did anything wrong, I'm telling him, that wasn't, you did this wrong, but he's, feeling like, no, I didn't do anything wrong. But the fact that he's coming to me and acknowledging,
yes,
I'm sorry, I hurt your feelings, or I'm sorry that, I came off like, I was not, interested in how this affected you, or, he acknowledged my feelings. And then that's what I've been trying to do, to acknowledge,
yes,
even if I felt I didn't do whatever he said. So that's something that we've been trying to do. He's been doing a lot more to me. I'm being honest. I'm working on
that's
it.
okay. It's a process.
It's good for the soul. I'm admitting that. I am a work in progress still.
We all are. That's okay.
But it means so much. And I think that it's very important for women, for us women, when we're feeling like our husbands aren't hearing us, we're, like I said, we're saying something, that's bothering us, that, either was said, or how it was said, or what was done, or how it was done. If they're not in agreement, we're not agreeing with what's being said, but they acknowledge how it affected us, how it made us feel. I think that is important too, because to me that shows, okay, I don't want my wife to feel like I'm being dismissive. I don't want my wife to feel like her feelings in whatever's going on didn't matter in this disagreement or whatever. I want her to know I am listening, or I'm concerned. I might not agree, but I don't want her to feel like her feelings don't matter. So that is so important, but it needs to be both ways. It does. Right. It has to be both of us.
And that's called respect. That's called respect. I remember I had a conversation with a couple, and the wife said to the husband, she said, when I come to you and I tell you things that are bothering me or that I'm upset about, I'm not asking you to fix it, because a lot of times the male approach is, okay, tell me what it is. Boom, 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 done. Don't worry about it anymore. It's all taken care of.
Fix it, man.
Well, I really think that's a guy thing, but that's just me. But what she said was, I just want somebody to listen. I'm not asking you to come up with a solution. I'll find a solution. I just want an ear. And clearly I have learned as a physician, I'm certainly not a psychiatrist, but I have learned as a physician, or whether just a friend, a lot of times you just want somebody to listen. And they don't have to say anything, but just let you go through whatever you go through, or say whatever you need. And that itself may very well be therapeutic, because that may show respect or caring. Okay, I care enough, and I'll take whatever amount of time you have, and you just talk to me. But we guys, at least in this particular couple that I talk with, the guy was the type of person who wanted to fix everything. I'll take care of you. She says, I don't need you to take care of me. I just want you to listen when I talk to you. You don't have to fix anything. I can fix it myself, but I want to share what I'm going through. Blah 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 blah. So it's a process, and it takes time. But if at least what has worked for me personally is it's 100% me. 100% me. And if I do what I'm supposed to do 100%, and just be there, things get better. Okay.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise podcast with Dr. William T. Choctaw, MD, JD. Be sure to check out other great episodes covering areas of health, wealth, and wisdom at thwwp.com. And while you're there, be sure to check out the books, blogs, and other literature in your preferred format. And don't forget to leave a review, subscribe, share, and support the podcast. That's at thwwp.com. www.wwp.com. You've been listening to the Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise podcast with Dr. William T. Choctaw, MD, JD.